Hi, I'm NRCM Clean Energy Outreach Coordinator. I'm here today at the Gulf of Maine Research Institute down in Portland to hear from folks who have come up from the Gulf to tell us their story about the BP oil spill. We've also heard from other Mainers who are similar occupations to those from the Gulf. Here are their stories.
Maine shares so much in common with the Gulf of Mexico communities. Portland, like all of Maine's waterfront communities, depend on the Gulf of Maine to support our families. Our working waterfronts, along with our working forests, are the bedrock of Maine's economy. We depend on the bounty they provide and for their tourism opportunities. Maine's economy is also heavily dependent on oil. In the Gulf states, oil provides jobs. In Maine, we are heavily dependent on it to heat our homes. Much of that oil is shipped through Portland Harbor. A spill of a national significance could happen here also. If that were to happen, our environment and economy would be devastated.
You know, when I put my key in my car and when I plug in the light, yes, I can have lights, but at what cost? Do I want to have lights so that I can look out there and see nothing in the way of wildlife and have the waters all around me polluted and then look at my child and say, I'm sorry, son, but you've got to leave this area if you want to have a life, because for the duration, Pensacola is finished for you.
Believe it or not, where we are in Florida, the west coast of Florida, there is no oil. And they say there's a 1 to 20% chance of actually ever coming to our beaches. What's killed us in our area is the perception. We are just like you. We have tourists. That's our main industry. And the fishing aspect of it, the people come down, they want safe, fresh fish.
Could it happen here? It most certainly could. We had a 178,000 gallon spill. But what's the potential? How much do some of the tankers hold? Could we have a 1 million gallon spill here? Yeah, and what would that do? What would that look like? You know, you could maybe imagine, maybe you saw part of the Julienne spill. Can you imagine 1 million gallons? Well, think about 30 million gallons or more. We have ships here that hold 40 million gallons. Now, they would never lose all of that cargo in any scenario I can think of, but the potential is there.
If we were to have a large oil spill here in Maine, we would be facing the same questions and situations that the Gulf Coast states are facing right now. What would happen to Maine's image of vacation land if we had a spill here? Would an oil spill in Portland essentially translate to an oil spill in Maine to the rest of the country? I think it would. How would we assure seafood safety? The Gulf Coast is struggling with this right now.
It's time for all of us to work together, to find the common ground, to have a compromise, to talk about what can work rather than what can't work. And it's time for that comprehensive clean energy, climate legislation with incentives so that it can be a win-win situation for everyone.
I'm here today to talk about the need for another option, for something that is not just either or, for a new direction, something that can allow us to innovate and replicate and change the paradigm of energy in America. It really comes down to one basic component, and if the leadership is not in a position to move forward, to give new ideas and new opportunities, then the biggest renewable resource we have is our vote. And I would applaud everyone in this room to please embrace that understanding. Vote, 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 and change the new direction for clean energy.
We have to be ever vigilant, and we have to work for alternatives. We need a menu of energy alternatives, and that need to be something we haven't thought of. And of course now we have to work on solar and wind and ramp down oil, but we can have better access to a bigger menu of energy alternatives and reduce the amount of oil that comes ashore everywhere, but especially for us in Casco Bay.
We need to work towards clean energy. We need to get out from under the stranglehold of these foreign powers. And we need to, as individuals and as communities, think to the future about energy. We need wind power, we need solar power, and we need to work on these things immediately. So Find out where your politician is headed and vote accordingly.